Hello, everyone. Hi, Tiffy.
Hi, Yo-Yo. Hello, MBE project.
MBE Project,
Mhm,
Mind, Body, Energy. I was thinking about it the other day, how it's been a year. I know we had our anniversary episode already, but I was just
mhm.
thinking about it again. I'm like, man, time is going by so fast.
It is. Yeah. And we've put a
Where?
lot of work into this. We think about the whole year,
Right.
and we've done an episode a week and then
Every
some.
week.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A episode every week. And then we have the
The
content that we
extras.
provide for patron. And yeah,
Hmm.
but it really has gone by pretty fast.
Yes, it
I
sure has.
know. So, yeah, I'm glad. I feel like we've had a lot of fun. This is definitely like something that supports me in staying in my practice. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm thankful for the people who continue to listen. And if you're new to Mind Body Energy Project, welcome.
Yes.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, the wands, we are
Yeah.
continuing to talk about this fire energy.
Hmm. We've got 8, 9, and 10 up this week.
Yeah. And, I was thinking, because you know how we've been looking at the order of things and the sequence of things. First, before I go into that, can you just kind of talk about what, like a recap, like these energies over these last 3 weeks with fire?
Yeah. So, you just mentioned this, and I've already forgotten what the first one was. So the ace
Moving forward.
through, yeah. So ace through four, um, the aces always begin the energy, and the wands are about travel and our passions and what we're actually taking the fire inside to create outwardly. So whether it's something tangibly we create or an experience that we create, it's just this energy of getting it out of us and into the world. So there's touches on like celebration in the ace through four and planning and then actually seeing this trip come to fruition and celebrating that. And then next up were the 5, 6, 7, which were energies of leadership. So, really taking control of that which we've created and taking control of what it is we also want to create further or new plans for that which we have created and how we mold that into something more progressive and really taking the lead on the energy of those things and responsibility to the responsibility of the leadership to know that you've made this. So, how are you pushing it forward?
And then today we're moving into endurance, how we endure.
Hmm.
And the thing about fire, I mean, I know when we did the cups, I love that that particular suit really highlights our relationship to our emotion and like really looking at and examining how we utilize that emotional energy, like what we do with it. But this one too, again, throughout this suit of wands, like what highlights for me is just our will, like how we use our
Hmm.
life force, like how we direct that energy, whether it's in a celebratory way or even when challenges arise, like almost that reminder of we have choice in
Right.
how we use this fire, our life force, and that we are the ones that manage our will, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yes.
Sometimes we don't.
No,
That's okay.
and that's why I think this topic today with these three cards, like how we endure, is like such an important one because sometimes we
Yeah.
just don't feel like it.
Yeah, it gets
You know?
exhausting.
Yeah, sometimes you're just like, I don't feel like exerting
Hmm.
any energy. I don't feel like willing anything. I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah. And
But
we need to know that that's okay because the fire will calm down. If you think of a campfire and like it's just the coals or the burnt down
like
wood that's
those
just kind of
embers.
crackling. Yeah, the embers. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Um, they might just simmer for a little bit, but you can reignite that fire. And it's okay to take that break sometimes, but
Hmm.
know that like the fire will be reignited rather than just being squelched out.
Yeah. And then we ended with the seven. Last week was really looking at like that energy of like our personal, like a personal challenge or personal battle or struggle. And as we progress through, moving on to the number eight, first of all, before we go into too much detail of this card, I the number eight always strikes me because makes me think of like the lunoscape and the balance and like that continuum, just the flow, the continuous flow of energy. And also it looks like a 8 on its side. It's like the infinity symbol. But it's just like that balance in between of, as above, so below. And then you see the image in this card and it looks like these wands are coming from above down to earth. But also, there's no person in this card. So that's also very interesting because there's usually an image of a person and there are no people here. So what comes up with you with this energy of 8 of Wands?
For me, as soon as I see it, I think of swift moving energy, because it looks like that's what the wands are doing. Whether they're going up or down, it looks like they're all moving pretty swiftly together.
Yeah.
And I do like that idea of there not being a person in the picture, because it's almost like you set things in motion and they're taking off and doing what they're going to do.
Right.
Without your involvement or anybody else's. And it's that idea of setting your intention and then trusting. And I know that's really hard.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, for a lot of different things. But it's also, that's what I thought. This card is, the planet that's associated is with Mercury. I think like the communication of what our intention is, like communicating it out and then trusting so that it can do, the energy does what it's supposed to do. So trusting that and not interfering with it. And I think the less we interfere with those kinds of things, the faster they actually come to us.
Yeah. That's like one of the biggest challenges is learning how to get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But coming as the card after that, number 7, where we were having maybe like a personal struggle or challenge, this is a nice reminder that, things can resolve themselves. This card can be symbolic of a successful conclusion or, news coming, and maybe the news will be something that supports you. But again, with those wands coming from like the heavens, it looks like down to earth, it also reminds me of what we have in mind and what we have in thought. What we're holding in our consciousness is going to impact what comes into manifest, or what we how things materialize here for us on the material plane. So yeah, it for me is a reminder to keep the, what do you call it? Keep your eye on the prize type of thing, or, recognize the progress that you're making, even if, there may be a little bit of challenge in it. Like we said, this is about endurance. These 3 cards can be about that, but just trusting that things are going to work out, or things are on the verge of working out. So don't give up. And yeah, again, like you said, that it can it can represent getting news. So yeah.
Well, on the heels of what you just said, like not giving up, this is the Chakra Wisdom Tarot deck. And the wands have formed what looks to be like a staircase. So just the fact that she's moving forward, she's making the choice to move forward by stepping on the wands that are progressing up.
Yeah. I like about this too, I mean, the other elements are represented in this as well on the Rider-Waite, because there's the earth quality, there's that water in between. So we have like balance and maybe even like it looks like a calm flow of emotion. So kind of like what you were saying too, when we get out of the way. But oftentimes what that means is like we're in a state of allowance and we are kind of harmonized in our own space. That helps things to flow. It often helps things to start to move in a way, like we create space of allowing, like just energy to move, whether it's our own or coming into that alignment where we're allowing ourselves to be receptive for whatever it is, whatever the movement may be.
Yeah.
Also,
now that you say that too, it's kind of like if you see these coming at you, you're going to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just going to stand there if these are moving towards you. You're going to get out of the way. So I think it's also quite symbolic of like, bitch, get out of the way.
And look, and that too, like it's just coming so quickly.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes, I mean, it's so interesting when that happens, when things just like, especially when you feel like you're in a space where you are like, why won't things change? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like a window opens or something happens, or you do get news, or like maybe sometimes like when people are looking for jobs and then all of a sudden they get this, opportunity that presents them itself. And it's
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes feels like it's coming out of nowhere. It feels like it's coming in quickly, but there has been always this the progression. Movement is always happening, change is always happening. But again, like, we play a part in how quickly things do line up and occur.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about something else with this card. I don't remember now. So anyway,
About the ace.
travel. That's the other thing. If you're someone doing readings with these cards, this card can also be symbolic of travel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it. So progress, news coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move on to 9. Mm-hmm.
Yes. 9. This guy.
Yeah. There's a person back in the frame.
Yeah.
I
He's
like this card, even though he looks a little
beat up.
disoriented.
Yeah, he does look disoriented. Yeah.
He does look a little disoriented.
Yeah.
And,
There's a
maybe
little bit of
those,
a look of like, I feel like he's fought a hard battle and like collected these wands in the back and like this is the one he just got. But he's also like, I feel like he's also kind of looking back there like, how the fuck did I get all those wands? Where'd they come from?
well, that's yes, it reminds me of like when there is something that comes in quickly, sometimes we're just like overwhelmed by it. It's almost like
Yeah.
one of those ones knocked him in the head, like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay, so here's all this like opportunity behind me now, but like, what do I do with it? Or maybe I
Yeah.
didn't, mm, it reminds me of because of the bandage on his head, like maybe there's something he wasn't seeing clearly, or maybe he's confused by what has come in, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, it's kind of like a setback. Like, now what do I do to progress forward with whatever this opportunity is? How am I going to use my energy? But what are you not seeing that maybe
Yeah.
would help you move beyond whatever the setback may seem to be?
Well, and interestingly enough, the moon is associated with this card.
Mm.
So the moon being that which illuminates what we don't see.
Mm-hmm. And he looks very confused.
Yeah.
Looking
He's a
back
little
over his
exhausted.
shoulder.
He's a little
Yeah.
exhausted too from having fought the battle. And it's just like, maybe it's he's fighting these battles and collecting these things and he's not sure for what. So maybe it's a reassessment of what it is he's actually manifesting or creating.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things too, is sometimes we have to realize, like, when there is like a detour or an interruption before we get to our end result, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I mean, sometimes we just have to reassess. Like, we just have to
Right.
step back and think about our life force. Like, what are we contributing to this, and
Mm-hmm.
how? Like, are we, is there an opportunity to redirect how we're navigating this, to maybe even get support? I mean, he's looking over his shoulder. Maybe there is another way that he's just not seeing. Sometimes for ourselves, we get stuck because there's another way to do it and we just refuse to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you do, then again, there goes that momentum. Things start to pick back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
This is the Nine of Wands in the Chakra Wisdom Tarot. I think it's cool that one of the wands is on fire.
Oh, you said 9. At first, I thought you said night. I was like, what? How did we get to the night?
I for a second I forgot what I had said. So
Yeah, these anyway. Okay. Moving right along.
Where are your Afro
That's what I was
cards?
just looking at. I put them back in their box, and
Oh,
yeah.
bumpy. I
Yeah,
always
because
like
I
to see
was
those
playing
different
with them the
interpretations.
other day and I forgot to leave them out, and so
Okay.
they're back in their box. But here is our 10 of Wands. So this one is, I mean, he looks like he's really struggling. Like, he has
Mhm.
grabbed all of those wands and it seems like a burden. Like,
Yeah.
he might want to carry them in a different way, because the way that he's doing it, he can't even see what's ahead of him. That's what I
Mhm.
think is so interesting about this. However, the key here is the endurance. Like, it may be hard work, but he's not going to give up. There's a house in the background. Maybe that's where he's heading. It looks like a castle, maybe. I don't know. But even though it's hard work, he is still trying. But it can also be indication that maybe you are trying too hard. Like, are you carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Is the way that you're doing it, like, not really necessary? Is there another way? What comes up for you with this card?
Um, well, yeah, burden is the word I see when I see this card for sure. And it's associated with Saturn. So I think about the lessons that we learn from lessons can feel like burdens.
Mm-hmm.
But if we move the sticks out of the way, then we can see what those lessons are, and maybe they wouldn't be such a burden.
Totally. Like
Um,
looking at this, like, why doesn't he put his hands out and carry them this way, like
yeah.
across both of his arms so that he can see what's in front of him?
And
Yeah.
some of it too, what I get from this is that because he has it in front of him, he doesn't want to see what's in front of him, is that the burden is actually the past.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's something from the past that he's allowing to be the burden so that he can't see what's ahead of him.
And again, it's like, how do we do things differently? Like very similar to the card before, to the 9. Like maybe there's something we're not seeing, or, sometimes it is like just it takes hard work. And that's
Hmm.
true too. Sometimes we may not like what the situation is, but it may be necessary to support us in moving forward. So,
Hmm.
like, which side or which situation may be true for you? Is it a situation where you need to do something different to make progress, or do you just need to endure and just like go through it to get through it in order to
Yeah.
get to your goal?
And it's a choice, right? We have a
Mm-hmm.
choice with that. So I think that's what this card is also saying as well. It's like it's presenting us with the ideas of it, but you also have the choice to make the decision of how you want that to be.
And I think that's the beauty of all of these cards. We haven't really talked about reversals, but even just looking at them upright, just the energy in general, I
Hmm.
think what we have highlighted is like the challenge of the cards, but also what the benefit could be in them, depending on how we see it. So, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, looking at this, it could look like a hard time. However, like, what can you do in that type of challenging situation that still can support you? I think that's like a good thing for us to consider any time in our lives, especially when we are just like challenged, burdened, something goes wrong. Like it
Hmm.
can be hard in those moments to remember, like, hello, there could be another way, or maybe we just have to endure.
Well, this one's interesting um, because she's got the wands on her back,
Mm-hmm.
which I think could be seen somewhat as a burden, but it also looks like she's taking them off of her back and using them to her advantage. So it's almost like if those are the lessons, the 10 of wands are the lessons, and she's actually, they could be a burden because they're heavy on her back, but she's also taking it out and utilizing it to light her way forward.
Did you say this one was Saturn?
Yes. Hmm.
That is interesting, because that reminds me too of that. Like a lot of people think of Saturn energy and are like, oh no, not the lessons, not the structure.
Hmm.
But, it's really a great thing. Like when you think about
Yeah.
it, it can be so good because we can trip ourselves up and we can hold ourselves back and we can keep ourselves stuck in cycles that aren't serving us. So like when we can be
Hmm.
honest enough to look at like, wow, this is an opportunity for me. Maybe I do need to heal. Maybe I do need to change like something, or maybe I just need to be more disciplined again to like go through it to get through it. Either
Hmm.
way, like this type of energy, like even Saturn energy, can be such a gift for us, especially if we're not inclined to do those types of things on our own.
Hmm.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a lot of Saturn in my chart, so while it may not be my favorite, I don't think I um, fight it as much as some may be more inclined to do.
Who are you talking about, me?
No, I'm
I'm
just
just
saying
kidding.
in general, no.
No, I know, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I was just thinking about myself.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, no. No. So, yeah, how do you endure and how do you deal with challenges? Are there opportunities to see things differently, or do you just need to be more disciplined? And then what will you do when opportunity arrives? Like if we look
Hmm.
back at that 8, like what do you do when information comes through, something's coming to a successful conclusion, like whatever it may be? What do you do from there? How are you using your life force?
Hmm.
Fire.
And I like the idea of the fire suit because it's our life force, right? But it also, when you think of fire, it lights our way. So if we're really diving into
Mm-hmm.
our inner self of this life force that we have, how are we utilizing it to light our experience in the world?
Yeah. You just made me think of this. San Diego just had Pride, San
Mm-hmm.
Diego Gay Pride was just this past weekend. And it makes me think of, I had a conversation with someone not that long ago, maybe a month or so ago, and we were talking about harmonizing feminine and masculine energy. And what the conversation was really more centered around was the fact that some people don't like to identify with or don't feel that the labels of feminine and masculine are inclusive. And so we had a really interesting conversation around it, and I did explain like my point of view of when we're talking about the level of energy, it has nothing to do with gender. It's just the quality or the aspects of those energies, like feminine being more receptive, more intuitive, which all of us are, designed with. And
Mm-hmm.
then say on the other hand, masculine being more logical and more like active, which again, all of us are designed with. But what I also was sharing in that conversation is I like to look at the feminine and the masculine also from the lens of elements. And, when you think about it that way, like fire, air, earth, and water, there is no, even though each of those fall in the categories of feminine or masculine, they're not identifying in those labels, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. So I say that to say, if there's anyone who hears feminine and masculine and you're still like working through feeling comfortable with those terms, or maybe that just doesn't resonate with you for any reason, you can also explore your own qualities by looking at the elements, which we're doing through these suits of tarot. So
Mm-hmm.
while cups is water, is feminine, you could just consider your water. Fire, active, masculine, but you can just say you're working on your fire. Like whatever, there's something for all of us. That's my
Mm-hmm.
point.
I like that idea.
Balancing your elements is balancing your feminine and masculine, but
But we don't have to label it that way if it causes
yeah,
people to.
just like whatever, is more uh feels more resonant with you. But the beauty of it is, no matter which way we label it, feminine, masculine, yin, yang, elemental, whatever it is, we are all designed and
Right.
have these qualities. And these cards, which we keep saying every week, but it's true, it's so amazing that they give us these opportunities to understand and really be very reflective,
Mm-hmm.
self-reflective, and understanding how we are using our elemental qualities.
And to really feel those elemental qualities, because we try to label things and that creates a whole muckery, right? Because the language that we use, that we speak, and that we process in our brains, I mean, we have a hard time just speaking English to each other and communicating, right? So not being so tied to labels,
Mm-hmm.
that the labels create the experience, but rather have the experience and understand it, and then use whatever labels actually work best, because we get caught up in words and in language, and there's really no these ideas of what we are as elements, and our energy is beyond anything that we could actually speak,
Yeah, no, it
and
totally
we forget that.
supersedes language, right? And
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
it can be very hard for us in these like journeys and like what we're exploring to articulate what our experiences are. And so we do the best we can with the language that we have. But I think to your point, Tiffany, that's why it is so important to give ourselves the experiences and to trust our own experience, because it may be very different than other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, if my experience with fire energy is very different than yours, it doesn't mean yours is wrong. We're just balancing in different ways because we have different aspects to ourselves that we're working through.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I was
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at I have the what do you call these? The court cards, the Court of
Mm-hmm.
Wands, which we will be exploring next week. They were just upright on my desk, and it's interesting. Each of them is holding just the one.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. Just one. But it's very upright and direct in each
Mm-hmm.
depiction, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyway, just makes me think of how we are aligning with our fire, that quality. So, anything else you want to say about fire, Tiffy, or your own
No.
elements this week?
I think I need to go tap into my own elements.
Harmonize your elements.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then, thank you always for being here. You guys can learn more about the work we do at mbeproject.com. And if you like the show, please rate it on Apple Podcasts. That will help us out. And you
Yeah.
send us our questions. Share your experiences. We're here.
Yes.
Bye,
Bye.
Tiffy.